Bump, bump, ba-da-dum, bump, bump. Hey, welcome to Friday. Welcome to a happy Bindi. Welcome to Lasers on the Blue Review, presented by LAX. I'm Marcus Grant with Greg Bergman, Parker Bell, joined today by special guest Anthony Witrano. Anthony, good to see you again, man. How we feeling?
Good to see you guys. Feeling good on a Friday morning after going up 3-0.
Yeah, obviously that's the big story. Dodgers up 3-0, one win away from their second straight World Series. They get it done on Thursday afternoon at Dodger Stadium, a 3-1 win. We popped on a little bit last night to talk about it, but chance to dive more in depth on Game 3 and a chance to look ahead to Game 4, a closeout opportunity for the Dodgers today. But before we do any of that, I want to give a shout out to LAX as always. They are transforming the travel experience. They are saving guests time. For more information, you can go to flylax.com/transforminglax. So, the story yesterday, Greg, I think it's pitching, but I think it's pitching as a whole. I mean, Tyler Glasnow came out, gave them 5 2/3 solid innings. Feels unfair to compare that to what Snell and Yamamoto did because those were sort of all-time pitching performances. But Glasnow pretty good last night, but I think just as big or even bigger to me, Greg, the fact that 3 1/3 scoreless innings from the bullpen, that was supposed to be the goal for the Brewers, right? Get to the bullpen and they got a shot to win, and it didn't work out.
Yeah, no, there's a couple of things in there. Like Tyler Glasnow first. Like, how dare you, Tyler Glasnow? How dare you only go 5 2/3? How dare you give up 4 hits? That's double what Yamamoto and Yamamoto and Snell did. So how dare you give up one run? Like, how dare you have such an amazing performance? Keep them completely off balance. How dare you? But yeah, honestly, the bullpen, to the final point of it, I guess it was always rest versus rust. We were going to have to see them at some point, and the fact is, there was no rust. It was actually the rest. They were able to, because they were spent so much time all season long and throwing so many innings and being so overused. This week and a half for some of these guys of break is just, it was a godsend to them that they were able to be like, okay, I can relax. I can go out there and I can just throw. And Vezina was great coming in to finish off that 6th inning. So it was really nice to see the bullpen do well. I do wonder how much of it is because the Brewers are just so out of sorts. This is not their typical way of playing. So the fact that they already just can't get hits and can't manufacture runs, they seem just lost.
I mean, yeah, Anthony, your thoughts on that? Is this a Dodger thing? Is this a Brewer issue? Is it, maybe a combination of both?
It's probably a bit of both. The Dodger starting pitching has the Brewers absolutely searching for any kind of answer. They've taken them out of their normal game plan that went on basically all summer, and starting with the first game, starting with Blake Snell. You saw they tried to ambush Yamamoto in the second game, and it just played right into his hands outside of the very first hitter. And those guys were able to be efficient. They were a little more patient against Glasnow. I think they wanted to try to bring him into the zone more. And with his stuff, he's fine pitching in the zone. And so a little less inefficient because of those first couple of innings. But I think once you got to the bullpen, a new sort of, just sort of funk for the Brewers had been reestablished by Glasnow. And I don't think it was just that, though, because Vezina looked really good. Treinen, I think, has looked the best he's looked in probably close to a month. The control was a lot better. It wasn't perfect, but it was better. It felt like he knew where the fastball was going to go generally. And the sweeper was sweeping very sweepingly. That was the biggest thing because he had absolutely no idea where that thing was going when he was struggling. And last night, it looked like he had pretty good command of it. If that's going to be the case going forward, he then again can turn into a weapon for this team like he was last October.
Yeah, I mean, again, he looked great. Vezina came in, looked great. Banda, mowing guys down, and then Sasaki coming in to close things out in the 9th. Just was fantastic. I mean, Parker, you were there yesterday. You're saying you did say last night that it was sort of weird that there was kind of a dull energy in the ballpark until sort of late in that one. I'm curious, did you pick up any vibes, when Trinan came in? Because I know that, between us and our text chat, when you hear or see that Trinan's warming up, there's just kind of a sense of, oh no. Was there that feeling at Dodger Stadium yesterday when he came in?
It took a minute. It took a minute until everybody was like, oh yeah. And literally that minute was when he got that last strikeout. But see, the thing is, this bullpen's figuring it out. They might be revitalized. And the moment you have a revitalized bullpen on this Dodgers team, you're starting to look at one of the most dominant teams, in postseason. And it reminds me of another dominant LA team, the Lakers, when they went on their 15-1 stretch. I know I did the whole early sweep, blah, blah, blah. But
Hey,
if it works, it works, right? But I'm getting feelings of just this Dodgers squad is too damn good, and I don't see them losing another bleeping game this postseason. And it's that feeling around the stadium that I felt as well, where everybody was just confident. Maybe they weren't as loud, but I think that's because they were just confident that this Dodgers team was going to win, Marcus.
I think there's an element of, one, having got by the Phillies and understanding how difficult that series was going to be. Just talking to some friends and coworkers who are also Dodger fans, like they all said to a person that they had a sense in Game 2, even after the Churio home run, there was just a sense of, it's okay, we got this, it's going to be all right. And so obviously that feeling that way as a fan really matters not at all, because we have no control over what happens. But I think it does speak to just the level of confidence this team is sort of playing with right now. And Greg, we saw it again yesterday. And I think it's necessary, right? It's those contributions from elsewhere, right? Shohei still hasn't really hit the way you anticipate him hitting. But Tommy Edman comes up with a big hit. Andy Pages, kind of helping start or generate rallies. The bottom of the order has come through at a big weight, but the bottom guys in the order are the ones that really were the ones that kind of the fire starters for this thing.
Yeah, it just goes to show you how deep and long this lineup really is. Kike is the only batter that if I'm doing this right, is the only hitter over 300, and it's Geektober. That's what he does. And Tommy Edman shows up when he in the NLCS. He may not show up all the time in the regular season, and he may not show up in other spaces, but in the NLCS, Tommy Tanks is a real thing that just gets hits when you kind of need him. This is why it's so tough to beat this team, because every single guy on this roster can hit, can get the ball in play. And Ohtani, he kind of fooled us a little bit. He had that little excuse me triple, stand up triple. Like, I'm just going to stick this bat out here and pop it into right field, and I'll just walk to third base with no problem. That inning was a little disappointing too, because they only got one, but no matter what, I don't worry about the hitting. I think the runs will come because someone in that lineup is going to get a big hit, because this is just kind of how they're built. They're built for right now. And we keep talking about what they've done over the last, 25 to 30 games. They're now 23-6. And it's just moving straight forward it doesn't seem like there's any stopping this team. And as long as the Mariners and the Blue Jays keep playing more and more games, and you keep using their bullpen and keep doing all that, it looks even better for the Dodgers.
I want to give the chat some love. Ron Mexico's RPO says Tommy Edman and Kike in October are like Mariah Carey in December.
That's
pretty good. I like that. Yeah.
Well done, Ron Mexico.
Anthony, so far we really haven't seen the best of Shohei. Evaluate what he looks like. To you, because obviously in Philadelphia against the Phillies, he looked completely lost. He looks slightly better now, but he still really hasn't come to life in the postseason.
Yeah, he went from pretty locked in against the Reds to a calamity against the Phillies. And a big reason for that, right, was the Phillies can throw the kind of left-handed pitching at a left-handed hitter that essentially no other team in baseball can. And so that got him way out of whack. He was flying open, pitches that were starting off as balls and staying balls, he was still chasing, and pitches that were starting out as strikes and staying strikes, he just didn't look good against. And anything coming from that left side just seemed to kind of flummox him. And we expected that to turn around against the Brewers because they don't have quite those kinds of weapons. And the at-bats have been a little bit better. He's taken his walks more. That triple yesterday, even though it was sort of a, flip the bat out there, I think it was also a product of having to see Ashby for the third time in 3 games. Like, I don't think that's nothing, right? Like, oh, well, it was sort of a lucky kind of hit that it fell down the line. Sure. But part of that is, had it been the first time he saw Ashby and got that same pitch, he might have just chased it. But I think he probably recognized what it was and was able to get the barrel line in at least. And you saw the result. So aside from that, though, he did still look bad in some of his other at-bats yesterday. So I don't think he's so close to finding it that like we can all feel that it's coming. But none of us are going to be surprised when it does come. And I do think it will come at some point.
I think it'll come. I think we all believe it's going to come. I on the broadcast a couple days ago, I think it was game 2. Maybe they made the analogy that it's like Steph Curry, right? If Steph is 1 for 10 from beyond the arc, you're still going to guard him because you never know. He could still put down 4 or 5 in a row right after that. I think that's sort of the feeling with Shohei. It's the reason that Pat Murphy has been so careful pitching to him in this series, that even though he's struggling, they're not afraid occasionally in situations to put up the 4 fingers and go give him first base at that point. So here we are, 3 games to none, the lead in the NLCS, a chance to go back to the World Series for the 2nd straight year. Parker, you were very you after game 2 decided that this one was a wrap. Today, Shohei on the mound. I don't think we're going to see 8 innings out of Shohei just because that's just not what they're having him do. But your expectations for Shohei in a closeout game?
Listen, if you get what Glasnow just gave us, then that is about as best as you can expect. Just 5 2/3 or 6 innings of swing and miss. That would be absolutely perfect. I mean, this Brewers team has scored 2 runs in 22 2/3 innings against Dodgers starters. So just continue that trend, Shohei, because if we look at it in terms of just raw talent, Shohei may be the best pitcher on this Dodgers team. And that's just saying so much because you have perennial Cy Young talent. So I expect a lot out of Shohei. But the thing is, if you don't get what we got from Snell and Yamamoto, that's not necessarily a bad thing, Dodgers fans. That's just because Snell and Yamamoto put up historical performances. So I'm excited to see him, but I'm more so I just want a hit or 2 and maybe not just like a, excuse me, triple. I'd like to see some good at-bats, continued good at-bats. And even if it's just, hey, put the ball in play. I know, Marcus, we used to talk about this earlier in the season when they were struggling. Just put the ball in play. Go ahead and try and see what happens with the defense.
So you want the full Shohei. You want pitcher Shohei and hitter Shohei. You want your peanut butter and your chocolate together. I get it. That's fine. Greg, yesterday we were talking in the chat about when they made the move to the bullpen that it was Vesia, and I asked the question, do you come back with Sheehan in the 7th? I know you said they hope so, but then afterwards it sort of hit me. I mean, with Shohei going today, it does feel like maybe Dave saved Sheehan for this, knowing that hey, look. Best case scenario, you probably get 6 innings out of Shohei. You need somebody to get you the rest of the way. So I would assume that was why we didn't see Sheehan yesterday.
Yeah, I mean, believe it or not, Dave Roberts knows more than we do. So that's shocking to me too. I know, but either way, I was more on board with going with Sheehan there. Obviously, what they did was I was happy to see that the. Am I still? I was happy. Okay. I was happy to see that the bullpen worked it out, but I was very much on the side of go Sheehan for 2 and then Roki for 1 in that situation because I wanted to see. I felt like because Glasnow only went 5 2/3, but having Sheehan go a couple was going to be the better spot. I understood the whole Vesia for 1 for that last batter, but I get what you're saying to piggyback on with Otani, but you got to win this one. By going up 3-0, you have so much extra room to work with there. So if you can have Otani then go, because he can go deeper. Like his pitch count is usually low because he's so efficient with his 7 different pitches that he throws. So he can go into the 7th inning, maybe even to the 8th inning if he's pitching extremely well. So I just felt like that was a better move. But it worked. They know what they're doing way, way better than we do. But it's going to be nice to have somebody for a possible sweep to be right behind Otani.
Is it, Anthony, any thoughts that if let's say they didn't score those 2 runs in the bottom of the 6th inning, do they come back with Vesia for the 7th, or do they maybe make the move to Sheehan if it's still a tie ball game? Your thoughts?
I think if it's a tie game, you start to look at your guys who can give you more than 3 outs. So I would have thought Sheehan, potentially even Robleski, could have been an option. And so the fact that they did score, I think, gave them a lot more flexibility and optionality there. But yeah, I think they probably would have looked to sort of stretch the game out a little bit more if it was tied. I will say this. I was curious about how they might go about using Roki again. Not that like they would have lost all confidence in him, but I was just kind of curious about what that would look like. And they brought him in like they normally would at a clean 9th inning with the lead. And he was as impressive as anybody else, I thought, considering what he looked like in game 1. And he had said, I think it was after this game last night, that they found some mechanical stuff that was still happening and that caused the drop in velocity and the lack of command. And he looked wild, right, the first 2 pitches, but it just looked like he was overthrowing, and that's very fixable. And he sort of settled into that outing and then started to look good again. And the fastball was moving and the splitter was unhittable. For a guy who's that young, who's been in this role for like 3 weeks and who's never really done anything besides start before, him bouncing back, them being able to identify the issue and him being able to correct it in his next appearance, that gives me a lot of confidence in this guy in the bullpen going forward for the rest of this postseason. Like, to me, that's a big hurdle to clear when things don't go right, how you bounce back, how you correct. And again, for a 23-year-old who's new to this role, to be able to do that in the highest, on the biggest stage, that's pretty impressive.
And he's encountered a little bit of everything, it feels like, in this short time, right? I mean, he's come into games obviously with clean innings. He's had the game where he struggled. We've seen him do multiple innings so far this postseason. So, Dave Roberts has thrown him in the fire. I mean, Parker, for you, I know you were very excited about getting to see Roki in person yesterday. It does seem like there's a different energy with the fan base now because, for better or worse, the Dodgers have a closer. I mean, the Dodgers had, in theory, 3 or 4 closers on the roster. But now, in October, the Dodgers finally have a closer, Parker.
Sasaki, my glorious young prince. Oh, how I love to see you hit the field. He was hitting his cat dog in the bullpen yesterday. I go, dang, he's locked in. It's a great feeling. Yeah, Dodgers fans, of course, have gone through really since. I mean, you could put Treinen in that. There's just been so many fireman roles, like 3, 4 closer type guys for so long. And the fact that we get to sit here in a whole postseason and just know that's the guy, it just gives a comfortability. And then the thing is, though, what makes it even more comfortable is that the defense behind him has just been locked in this October, Marcus. I mean, the play that Mookie made, I don't think we've gotten to it yet. Just
give that man his gold glove.
Give
that man his gold glove.
I know Mason Wynn was dominant this year, but you got to put the story factor into this. The fact that he came from right field and did something nobody else believed except for him he could do it. And it's just, come on, narrative awards. But all the way from Muncy's throw at home, I know that wasn't with Sasaki, but just all the way down, the defense looked amazing, and Glasnow was able to trust it. Sasaki's able to trust it, and that helps with their mechanics and helps with their pitching.
We haven't gotten to that, Greg. The fact that Max Muncy had that amazing play at third base in a big situation, right? The Brewers had already tied the game, a chance to take the lead. He gets the out at home play, and I think it's part of a bigger story too. Everybody talks about the wheel play, right? That they put on against the Phillies. Obviously, Mookie calling that was huge. But, I mean, Greg, it also took Max Muncy making a lights-out throw to get the ball to third base so that Mookie could make the tag. For all the times that Muncy maybe fumbles one over there, he has been good. He's been very good when they've needed him to be.
Yeah, no, Max Muncy's been very, very impressive for the most part over at third. In those big moments, yes, you're totally right. There's going to be a moment where he overthrows a ball or he boots a ball or he does something, but that's who you kind of trust over there to make that type of play. What he did there was everything right, where you dove in, came in, spun, turned, and just had a strike to home plate to get that out. And that really changed the game. Instead of it being 2-1 Brewers, it stays 1-1. It changes everything all about it, because then you only have one out. There's a whole bunch of changes that could possibly happen there. And then maybe that death by 1,000 cuts just starts to happen. And they stopped it dead in its tracks because this defense has been doing such a great job. And that Mookie play, my goodness, that was as good of a play as you'll ever see a shortstop make. And now he was lucky that he hit a little bit of a slower runner, but still, that's not an easy play by any means. That's like a Derek Jeter style play right there. And I don't know, I'm gonna say it was better. I'm gonna go with better. Mookie better.
Mookie better.
Mookie better.
Mookie better. Anthony, if you are the
cookie,
Brewers,
I'll give you a cookie.
If you are the Brewers today, they haven't officially named a starter that I've seen. We all sort of assume it's going to be Jose Quintana. But if you're Pat Murphy, how do you handle this? Because you've already gone so deep into your bullpen. Like, I can't imagine Abner Uribe is available. Obviously you've burned Mizorowski. How do you play this if you're Pat Murphy?
I think he tries a new strategy of telling everyone who will listen that his team isn't good enough.
That's a great strategy. He hasn't tried it yet. Let's see if he can do that again.
It's worked in the past, people tell me.
Yeah. Those first 3 games worked really well.
Yeah. Geez.
It's so annoying, isn't it?
It is really, like, you do it once, right? Like, before the series starts, like he did the Average Joe's thing, and like, okay, cool. Like, we get it. Milwaukee's not as big a market. The payroll's not as big. We understand all that. But to keep going back to that well, at some point, there's got to be some diminishing returns in your own clubhouse. Like, if you keep telling the public, even if you're saying something different in your own clubhouse, but you keep telling the public, oh gosh, none of our guys would even make their lineup. Like, at some point, like, what are you doing? You know what I mean? Like, that's
Blake Snell makes more than an entire pitching staff.
That's not helping your general psyche on the Brewers side. I digress a little bit, but that's just been so very annoying. I think, though, that they don't have any answers. And I think that's the point of all of this. And it's why this feels so dominant. To Parker's point, it's why the games still feel a little ho-hum, because it's very clear to everyone the Brewers don't have an answer for anything the Dodgers are putting out there, at least from the pitching side. And so what they do, I think their only real legitimate shot here is to get to Shohei early, because I think in a game 4 on the road, in an evening-ish game where probably the stands will be a little fuller early, if you start to let Ohtani and the Dodgers build that momentum, and you go, like, let's say the first 6 outs or so, and you really don't put a dent in anything, the mentality and sort of the vibe in that other dugout on the first base side there probably starts to turn very negative. Even if they're not outright showing it, it's like, what can we do? And I think then you're done. You're finished, because the longer this game goes and they can't produce anything, it's just going to be bad vibes. And so I think their only real shot is to try to get something off of Ohtani quickly and early.
Well, and to that end, keep an eye on Jackson Chourio, who left that ball game late after his hamstring tightened up on him. He had to limp off the field. They haven't really generated much offensively, but Chourio seems to be the guy who's at least making the best contact. And if he's not there, that is a huge loss for a lineup that is absolutely searching for answers. So, we will see what happens.
So by the way, Jackson Chourio after the game said it's a cramp and he expects to play game 4 tomorrow. But apparently that was the same thing he said in July, and he took some time off.
Oof.
Yeah.
Also, for Pat Murphy, shout out to Bubba Fett for this comment. Maybe he just needs to switch to pocket waffles, man.
Pocket pancakes apparently not working magic.
So the pocket pancake could have been so big for him. Like going into it would have been a whole huge thing. And instead he chose this to be his narrative. Stick with the pocket pancake. Learn how to play a bit. This is what we do around here. If you have a bit, you stick with it and you run it over and over again. That was the wrong bit. The pocket pancake would have been the right one.
100%.
Yeah.
Wow. All right. So remember your breakfast foods and lean on it. Breakfast is very important, everybody. Anyway, tonight, 5:38 first pitch time from Dodger Stadium. It's Shohei Ohtani versus TBD, presumably Jose Quintana. We will find out. But the Dodgers a chance to close this out and get literally a full week of rest. Game 1 of the World Series is not scheduled until next Friday, so the Dodgers can sit back, get their pitching in order, and just watch the Mariners and Blue Jays beat up on each other, hopefully, for another few games. So we will find out. But Anthony, I appreciate you stopping by, man. Enjoy the rest of the series. I know you guys are busy over there between your work at Forbes and and Dodger Blue.
Yes, sir. Yeah, thanks for having me back, guys. And maybe we'll be talking World Series stuff soon.
Would be great. Absolutely. So that'll do it, though, for this edition of the Blue Review presented by LAX. Thanks to everybody in the chat. Thanks to Graham Metzger for getting us up and on. Stick around. The Sedano Cap Morning Extravaganza coming up here on the ESPN LA YouTube channel. For Anthony Witrado, for Parker Bell, for Greg Bergman, I am Marcus Grant. Chance to close it out. Let's get to the series, everybody. We will be back with you post-game tonight here on the ESPN LA YouTube channel. We'll see you then. Think Blue, everybody. Go Dodgers.
Yeah.